I was 18. I was with my mom, my sister, and my brother when 15 security forces came to my home in the middle of the night. Some of them have guns. They took us to a place called Insane, which is one of the most notorious prisons in Asia. I didn't realize I was arrested until after I have arrived. My mother, my sister, and I were sentenced to 17 years for my father's alleged crimes. He was sentenced for 47 years and sent to a prison which is 2-hour drive by car from our prison. His crime, being elected in parliament and aligning with Daw Aung San Suu Kyi as an opposition leader. For the next 7 years, our family was separated. I still have letters from my fathers from those time apart. Prison life, it was full of horrors. It wasn't prison like here in Norway. More than 100 women in my prison cell. Each of them have 2 feet by 6 feet of space. We ate soup with no flavor and salt and dirty rice. We had no medical facility. The most we can get is 1 aspirin. For years, I have no access to books. The worst is having no hope in the prison. There was no future in the prison. All the time, I wanted to be free. I wanted to have a future. I wanted to go back to my university. I wanted to help others. By seeing many young women in the prison and listening to their life, I have decided to work for the change of the country. In 2010-12, my family was released along with the other political prisoners with the presidential amnesty after the first elections in 20 years. My family was persecuted not only because my father was a politician, but also because we are Rohingya. Rohingya are a 1 million-strong ethnic and religious minority in Burma, which population is 55 million, mostly Buddhists. The Rohingya is an indigenous population with our own language, traditions, and culture in Burma. But we are different from the rest of the population. We are Burmese, but we are part of the Muslim populations in the country, which is less than 5% of the population. In 1948, Burma became independent. In 1962, we had a military coup, which resulted 5 decades of military dictatorship. Just like other dictators around the world, the military used divide and rule tactics to create conflict in the country and maintain their power. From 1980s, they started to degrade status of the Rohingya by enacting discriminatory citizenship law and by introducing many discriminatory practices and policies. In 2014, they took away our permanent citizenship, which is ours by birth. The last election, we were finally disenfranchised and lost our political rights. This is the first parliament and government in Burma's history where there is no Muslim representation at all. When I was released from the jail, I was so excited. I had great hope for the future of my country, to enjoy freedom and democracy. In fact, democracy reform, what I realized is that only for the political elites in urban area, not for the people in rural area, or not for the minorities. And a few months later, I was released. There was widespread violence against Rohingya and minority. Many were killed, women were raped. Many had to flee from their country, become refugee, and many lost their home. In one case, 33 Muslim school kids were burnt alive and beaten to death in daytime by the nationalist group, Buddhist nationalist groups, including monks. Justice has not been brought for this kid yet. About 150,000 Rohingya were internally displaced. They are still living in an apartheid-like condition, in squalid camps, segregated from the rest of the Buddhist population. Since October last year, the situation has gotten worse. After an attack against security forces by a militia group, military has used that as an excuse to crack down the entire Rohingya population. The United Nations has reported that acts as crimes against humanity. Rohingya is not the only group that has been targeted. Hindus, Christian, and other ethnic groups like Kachin, Chin, Karen, and other groups are also targeted. Although in 2015, the Aung San Suu Kyi government has democratically elected and came into power, the persecutions of minorities are ongoing. Peace process and political dialogue does not include a lot of the targeted population from Karen, Shan State, Kachin State, and Rakhine State. On top of that, human rights violations around the country are continuing. Conflict intensifying in Kachin State and Northern Shan State. There is no freedom of speech and press. Since after the National League for Democracy government came into power, 666 people have been arrested with the Telecommunication Act for criticizing government and military on internet. I want to live in a truly democratic country where our life and dignity are respected, where we can express our opinion freely, where minorities are protected and given opportunity to participate alongside with majority. After spending 7 years in prison, seeing current situations of my country break my heart. I wanted to create change. And I found, after I graduated from law school, I founded Women Peace Network Arkan, and I promote respect, love, and inclusion by empowering youth and women, and by providing democratic educations. I have seen young people who join our programs with prejudice have changed. Just last week, a boy who joined us, who is from a military family, who has prejudice against Rohingya and other minorities. At the end of the program, he completely changed, and he said the organization is so welcoming, and he felt at home. We have to teach our young generation about the true meaning of democracy and promote democratic cultures and practices. If we invest in the younger generation in 10 to 20 years, when they grown up to be leaders, Burma will be a better place with peace and prosperity for everyone. We still have hope. Young people are our hope. And I believe all of us can help promote human rights and freedom if we take our own responsibility by engaging, supporting, and by taking actions. Even like people like me who has gone through tremendous hardship and still facing many challenges can take actions. And I believe each and every one of you can do much better than I do. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be you are a human rights promoter or you are working in a civil society. You could be in the government. You could be a businessman. You could be a student. Wherever you are, whoever you are, if you commit, we will have a better world. We don't need to wait for world leaders to bring us democracy. I believe we can bring democracy by our own effort with solidarity. Thank you so much.